Bobby, tighten it up here. Tighten it. Okay, I think we're ready. First of all, good afternoon for everyone in attendance. Really appreciate, particularly the media, for covering this important information, this important announcement. Want to thank a few people at the outset. A real partner in public service and a good friend, Mayor Scott. I want to thank you for your leadership. Commissioner Worley, thank you very much for your leadership. And also DEA Special Agent Edwards, Maryland State Police, Lieutenant Colonel Chappell, also Director Mavronis, thank you for your leadership. I want to thank my entire criminal division and our chief of the criminal division, Katie Dorian, and our organized crime unit with Chief Halliday. And also let me thank Alicia Bowling and the Morrill Park Community Center team. Thank you for hosting us today. Today we're announcing the conclusion of 2 investigations into criminal activity and organized crime in Baltimore City. We chose the Morrill Park Community Center to make this important announcement to signify that the people of this community are taking back what has been theirs all along. Their parks, schools, and playgrounds. They're taking back their neighborhood, their streets, and local businesses. This community was previously overrun by a criminal organization whose members have now been indicted for trafficking large amounts of drugs, including fentanyl and cocaine, into this neighborhood. This is just one of 2 cases we're announcing today. Both investigations were led by my organized crime unit in collaboration with the group violence unit of the Baltimore Police Department as part of Mayor Scott's group violence reduction strategy. These cases were led by the Baltimore City Police Department, the DEA, and the Maryland State Police Strike Force Group 7 Task Force, which includes members of the MDTA Police, the Baltimore City Sheriff's Office, and the Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services. One of the 2 cases you'll hear about today was a joint initiative with my office and the Baltimore City State's Attorney's Office. In a few minutes, Katie Dorian, Chief of our Criminal Division, will share more details about 2 investigations that led together for a total of 15 indictments, the removal of 18 illegally possessed firearms, including 2 stolen handguns, 3 ghost guns, and large amounts of fentanyl and cocaine. According to the CDC, a record number of nearly 3,000 drug overdose deaths occurred in Maryland. And that happened over a 12-month period ending June 30th, 2021, the most recent statistics. Illicitly manufactured fentanyl and similar drugs were involved in 84% of these deaths. These drugs are killing more Marylanders than ever before, and we've seen an increase since 2012, which is astounding. According to the Maryland Department of Health, in 2012, there were 29 fentanyl deaths. In 2021, there were 2,344. That's more than an 8,000% increase. Eliminating drugs and gun violence from our neighborhoods is a top priority for my office, for law enforcement partners, and for the community leaders standing here today. With the recovery of these potentially deadly firearms and drugs, the communities where these organizations operated are now safer. The first case that you'll hear about today focuses on a drug trafficking organization that operated in Northwest Baltimore. As a result of this investigation, nearly 2 kilograms of fentanyl were seized, enough to kill almost 870,000 people. Think about it. That number is 1.5 times the population of Baltimore City. In the second case, the Morrill Park investigation, a drug trafficking organization occupied city blocks, a convenience store or 2 or 3, and prevented anyone from safely going about their daily life in this neighborhood. The organization designated a neighborhood convenience store as a central hub for their activities. Because of great police work, we were able to take down this organization and give this community back what is rightfully theirs. As Attorney General, my commitment is this: we will continue our relentless effort to improving public safety, and we'll do that with our partners. To those who endanger our communities and contribute to violence, drugs, and reckless behavior, we will use every tool available to dismantle your organization and prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law. I want to thank our partners again in the Baltimore City Police Department, the DEA, and MSP for their exceptional work on these cases. I'd also like to thank Mayor Scott again and State's Attorney Bates and his office for partnering with us. We'll continue to support their work in complex and multi-jurisdictional cases. I also want to express my sincere appreciation to all the prosecutors, investigators, detectives, special agents, federal task force officers, and patrol officers who worked and continue to work these cases. And with that, I'll now turn it over to Katie Dorian.
Good afternoon. As the Attorney General said, these cases are the latest effort by our Criminal Division's Organized Crime Unit, many of whom are standing here today, to combat violence, drug dealing, and illegal firearms in Baltimore City and throughout Maryland. Before I get into the facts of the cases, I just want to emphasize that all of the defendants are presumed innocent unless and until the state proves their guilt beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. An indictment is not a finding of guilt, but merely an accusation. The first case we're going to talk about today culminated from an investigation into a drug trafficking organization in Northwest Baltimore, which led to 10 total indictments, 9 in Baltimore City and 1 in Baltimore County. In May of 2023, the Office of the Attorney General, BPD, and the DEA began a joint investigation into the members and associates of that drug trafficking organization that was operating in Northwest Baltimore and representing a territory that they referred to as LND, short for Longwood, North, and Dukeland, streets that they represented in that area. Specifically, the organization operated in and around the area of the 3100 block of West North Avenue, the intersection of the 1800 block of North Rosedale Street and the 3100 block of Westwood Avenue, and the intersection of West North Avenue and North Dukeland Street, all in Northwest Baltimore. The investigation utilized a variety of investigative methods, including undercover detectives who made controlled purchases of narcotics, including heroin, cocaine, and fentanyl, as well as controlled purchases of firearms from the members of the organization. During the investigation, undercover detectives conducted more than 15 undercover purchases of drugs, including fentanyl. Undercover detectives also purchased 2 firearms from the organization. In August, one of the defendants, Roland King, told an undercover detective he had a firearm for sale, later sending the detective photographs showing 4 separate guns for sale. The next month, King sold the undercover detective a .32 caliber revolver along with 170 grams of fentanyl and 163 gel caps containing fentanyl. Then later, in November, King sold an undercover detective a .40 caliber handgun along with over 50 grams of cocaine. This sale occurred after McQuan Leonard, one of the defendants, who is believed to have been a gun supplier for the group, provided that firearm to Roland King. This investigation culminated in search warrants in January of 2024, including a search warrant in Baltimore County at the home of McQuan Leonard, during which officers seized cocaine and 10 firearms. The 10 firearms included 2 illegal assault rifles, 2 stolen firearms, and a ghost gun, otherwise known as a privately made firearm. The second case we are announcing today resulted in an additional 5 indictments in Baltimore City after an investigation into a different drug trafficking organization that operated right here in the Morrill Park neighborhood of Southwest Baltimore. Over the course of a months-long investigation, law enforcement built a case that focused on that drug trafficking organization that was using the American Market convenience store right around the corner, located at 2452 Washington Boulevard, as a central hub to distribute fentanyl and cocaine. Members of the conspiracy facilitated the sale of various narcotics to undercover officers, again, including cocaine and fentanyl. They would distribute narcotics on a daily basis, and some members were distributing large amounts of narcotics for resale. During the investigation, undercover detectives conducted more than 12 undercover purchases of fentanyl from the group. The investigation resulted in the seizure of an additional 4 firearms, including a Tech 9 and 2 privately made firearms or ghost guns, one of which was laser equipped, as well as over 2,000 pills of fentanyl. Of the 15 defendants that we talked about today, 9 are being held without bail, 2 are on home detention, and 2 have not yet been apprehended. As the Attorney General emphasized, these investigations would not have been possible without the collaboration and partnership between our office and all of our hardworking federal, state, and local partners. In case after case, we show that when we work together and combine our resources, we can make a significant impact on public safety. These 2 cases continue our strong partnership with BPD's Group Violence Unit and expand on our successes of the past year working under Mayor Scott's Group Violence Reduction Strategy, including the indictments that we announced last year of 33 people last March from a criminal organization operating in the southern, southwestern, and western districts of Baltimore City, 8 of whom have already pled guilty, and the indictments of 9 people last January in the WIC Squad investigation in the western district of Baltimore, all of whom have pled guilty. I just want to reiterate our thank yous to all of our partners without whom we would not be able to complete these investigations. And now I will turn it over to our continued partner, Mayor Scott.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you, Chief Dorian. I want to thank Attorney General Brown, Chief Dorian, the DEA, MSP, the State Attorney's Office, BPD, MONSE, every single person in every agency represented who played a part in getting these 2 violent groups off the streets of Baltimore. I want to thank, in particular, Commissioner Worley and the BPD Group Violence Unit for their work in getting these individuals off our street, as well as Director Mavronis, Deputy Director Terrence Nash, and our team at MONSE for leading our GVRF's efforts on behalf of the administration, but more importantly, on behalf of the residents of Baltimore. Together, we are once again unified in sending a unified message that those who violate the Group Violence Reduction Strategy's anti-violence mandate by continuing to be involved in group activity will be held accountable. The foundation of this strategy relies on buy-in, the buy-in that you see here today. Our goal is always simple. We want to give those identified as being at high risk for involvement or being the victim of gun violence the choice to step away from the life. 1 second. Mr. Commissioner, I think I know who's in the helicopter today. He's trolling me. But what we have to continue to say is that the goal is very simple. Step away from the life. We'll give you every opportunity. But if not, you will be held accountable. That goal is simple, but the execution takes a lot of work. This strategy has always been about focus on those most responsible for driving the majority of violence in our city and inflicting harm upon our communities, taking life out of our communities and our streets. Since the start of the GVRS, which was a pilot in the Western District in January 22, all across the now 3 GVRS districts, Western, South, and Southwestern, as end of January this year, Central District, we have conducted 225 full direct communications and 164 law enforcement direct communications. Connected 156 individuals through the strategy to life-changing services, and made 247 arrests, including 172 by the GVU. This is an intervention strategy. We want the group involved individuals to change their lives around and take advantage of the services that we are providing so that they can stay healthy, safe, and alive and provide for their families. And that is the one thing that's made this strategy here more successful than the other models that we've seen here in Baltimore. We're actually providing those resources opportunity. When they say yes, we know it works. And I've had the opportunity to meet with many of those who have successfully stepped away from the life and changed their ways. But I want to be abundantly clear. We will not tolerate those who say no, who tell us to pound sand, who think that I'm bluffing. We're not bluffing. Again, I don't play poker. If you continue to make the choice that these 15 individuals made to decline the option for help, the Attorney General and Chief Dorian mentioned, As a result, you will be indicted. You will be brought up on charges, and we will be holding you accountable for the things like you saw in the range today: illegal possession of firearms, use of a firearm, drug trafficking crime, to large-scale narcotics distribution. These two violent groups chose to inflict harm on neighborhoods in West and Southwest Baltimore, participating in the sale of all this illegal activities. About a year and a half ago, I was in this very community center for a community meeting with the former commissioner and the former Muncie director, when the neighborhood implored us to deal with the groups that were here. This is us delivering on that promise, and we will do that in every single neighborhood across Baltimore. Today's indictments are a product of those individuals' decisions to continue to do what they wanted to do. And it's also a product of this partnership and the work and the true and deep partnership from everybody you see represented today to focus on the goal of making Baltimore a safer city. I again want to thank all of our partners and let everyone again know that we will continue to work each and every day. We have the resources for you. Don't end up like these individuals. Change your lives or face the full weight of this powerful partnership. Thank you very much. And with that, I will turn it over to Commissioner Worley.
Thank you, Mayor Scott, Attorney General Brown, and Ms. Dorian. In addition to Maryland State Police, Baltimore County Police, BPD's Southwest and Southern Districts, and our federal and local partners, I want to express special thanks to our BPD's Group Violence Unit. The consistency and selflessness of their outstanding work on these investigations has gone a long way. Of course, we would not be successful without the collaboration of our federal, state, and local partners. This is just the latest series of operations in which we made the city safer and the streets safer by arresting the drug trafficking organization members and those who refuse to take the other services that are offered. We're the last line. We come after you and we will arrest you if you don't take the other options. While by no means are we to the end of this fight, removing these drugs and guns from our streets excuse me, brings us another step closer to improving the quality of life in the city. By going after key drivers of violence, we are exhibiting our strategy and our commitment to the group violence reduction strategy. Simultaneously, we are working with nonprofit and community organizations to provide trauma-informed care, community-led prevention efforts, and resources to victims of crime and addiction. GVRS is there to reach out to those who want to be part of the solution. Those who don't, then we would be part of the arrest, and your name will be up here as an indictment soon after you refuse the services. We want to provide them with the services and pathways away from a life of crime. But obviously, if they don't accept those services, the only other option is police enforcement and investigations. We're achieving greater reductions in gun violence and keeping those at the highest risk safe and alive. And I'm optimistic that we continue to grow in the Southwest, Western, and Central, and move soon into the Eastern and then next into the Southern. I want to thank the entire team, all of our state, federal, and local partners that have led to us reducing our violent crime, the homicides and shootings are down consistently. And now I will turn it over to Lieutenant Colonel Rosemary Chappell of Maryland State Police.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having us here today. I'd like to thank all my partners that have worked so hard on these cases. The Maryland Department of State Police is proud to stand alongside our law enforcement partners in this joint effort to dismantle this dangerous drug trafficking organization and hold those responsible accountable. These indictments and arrests would not have been possible without the collaboration of our local, state, and federal partners. Taking down an organization like this requires more than just ordinary police work. It requires an extraordinary team. I'm grateful for the work of our Strike Force 7 task force, from information sharing with our partners at the Baltimore Police Department Group Violence Unit to the technology that helped us advance the investigation. I am proud of the exceptional work and dedication exhibited by our law enforcement community. This collaborative effort exemplifies the department's commitment to public safety and ensures that Maryland continues to be a safe place to live, work, and visit. Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to the Mayor's office, Stephanie Mavronis.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel, and thank you, Mr. Attorney General, for your partnership on the group violence reduction strategy. We've been clear from the start that we want folks to accept services, and we are making those services available. And, evidenced by announcements like this one, we're also being intentional about the delivery of swift and certain consequences for continued involvement in group violence. The Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement has activated coordinated neighborhood stabilization responses in both the area around Longwood, North Avenue, Dukeland, and Morrill Park to provide resources tailored to meet the needs of our residents and help prevent others from completing to fill the power vacuum that can sometimes be left by these takedowns. This is a practice we lead in partnership with BPD following all of our GVRS-related takedowns. GVRS works because it hones in on the specific drivers of violence in our city. In these particular instances, individuals were identified through the partnerships involved in the strategy because of their connection to violence in these districts. Through these serving as community moral voice in the Western and Southwestern districts, we did make some offers of services delivered GVRS's anti-violence messages through direct communications with these individuals. Unfortunately, they made the choice to ignore this mandate and continue to participate in activities associated with violence. We will never apply enforcement measures simply because individuals decline services, let me be clear. But what we will do is the same thing we promised to them. We will hold you accountable for violating the mandate, and as you can see today, the consequences were swift, certain, and legitimate. This strategy would not work without the partnership between local government, law enforcement, and the community, and so I want to express my gratitude to the partners that stand here today and look forward to the continuation of our work together. Thank you.
Stephanie, could you say which office you're with the mayor's office, please?
Sure. I'm Stephanie Mavronis. I'm Director of the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement. Thank you.
That's it, right? Okay, we're going to open up for questions.
You mentioned two defendants, or Oscar mentioned two defendants are on home detention. So I have two parts to this question. Are you aware of the crimes being committed while they were on home detention? If you could address that, and then how many of these in total are repeat felon offenders?
Good question. So, Paul Halliday from the Organized Crime Unit. I'm the chief of the Organized Crime Unit at the Attorney General's office. So, no, the individuals are on home detention now for the charges that came as a result of this investigation. At this time, I'm not aware of any of the targets in this investigation that were on home detention at the time of the investigation, but I can't speak to that. And then the second part of the question was the repeat offenders. So to the extent that some of these individuals are charged with illegal possession of firearms, their records are included in the indictments, and certainly their records are available on publicly available on case search. But I can't speak at this time, at least, to any of the individuals' individual records. I might be able to defer to anybody else that has more information about that from law enforcement.
Should any of them not been on the street?
I can't speak to that.
I'm Lieutenant Colonel Velty with the Baltimore Police Department, oversee our anti-crime section, which incorporates our group violence unit. The question was any frequent flyers? Was that the question?
Yes. If any should not have been on the street, in your opinion, what their records like, repeat violent offenders?
So I don't want to get into individuals' records. I will say that in the groups, like with our Longwood, North, and Dukeland investigation, charges in past criminal history, members associated with the indictments ranges from murder to attempt murder to narcotics trafficking with a firearm. With regards to the Morrill Park investigation, individuals indicted as a result of the investigation range from narcotics trafficking with firearms to robberies, and to include robbery carjackings.
This speaks to the larger problem. They should have been out in the first place.
There's a lot of things that go on in the court process. Just because a person is charged with something, again, like with the indictment, innocent until proven guilty, a criminal history does not necessarily keep one in jail. There's many things that occur with that.
I have another question now.
I'm just wondering if anybody can speak more to how GVRS came into play here. We heard about how it works and heard about what the individuals are accused of, but is it like one of these individuals was, was engaged with and it led to the investigation and brought down the others? How does that work?
The way we identify the investigations, the groups that are up for investigation, is we do a weekly violence review of all the shootings, non-fatal shootings and homicides in the GVRS districts. In that, we parse out which groups are involved in the suspect side of things or the victim side of things are involved. And then we rank basically a scorecard of groups that are driving the high percentage of violence through these districts in the city. From those scorecards, we assign investigations based on the top violence drivers. You know, we have a fairly decent idea of individuals who are involved in these groups, and we try to go after those that we believe will drive the violence, continue cycles of retaliatory violence, or have the clout to order violence to be done.
Also, really quick, before it gets to be our part, once we identify these individuals, there's a call-in done where we bring them in and we tell them, listen, we know your groups are involved in this violence. Put the guns down, take the services offered through the mayor's office, Muncie, BPD, all our federal services, and stop the violence. If you don't, then the investigations will start, and then you get to the indictments here. So you don't have to accept the services, but we want you to put the guns down.
So some or most of these people were invited to Collins.
We have direct communications that basically it's a letter. We go out, we deliver it to them. Same thing. Instead of coming in, we go in, deliver a letter, say, listen, we know what you're involved in. We know what you're doing. Put the guns down. We take some of our service, or else an investigation will not only come to you, but the entire drug trafficking organization that you are a part of.
And that happened in these cases?
Yes, and Justin, I'll step in too. The letter actually comes directly from me to the individuals, and it says essentially what the commissioner said: we know who you are, we know what you do. We want you to remain alive. We want you to be able to thrive in our city. But you can't do that, and you won't do that by doing the things that you are doing right now. We will give you every resource and every power that we can. If it's housing, if you need to be relocated, if you need education, substance abuse, whatever kind of therapy, whatever you need, we will give it to you. We will help you. But if you don't, then you'll hear from this powerful partnership. And unfortunately, these individuals didn't take us up on that. I was at my stepson's basketball game 2 weeks ago, and a young man actually came up to me and said, hey, I want to show you something. And he showed me a picture on his phone of one of the letters that he had gotten from me. And him and his dad talked to me about like how that was changing for him. And we're very serious about providing opportunities, but we're also very serious about holding people accountable, because we will not let groups just terrorize communities.
The convenience store up the way, were they complicit in any way in the activity that was going on inside?
The only thing we can say at this time is that there are no charges against anybody that owns or is affiliated with the store. That's all we can say at this point.
You say at this time. So does that mean that an investigation is continuing on, or does that mean that, especially what was the activity actually happening inside of the store, outside of the store? You don't really say yet. So where was the activity going on, and does that mean that an investigation is continuing?
Okay, sorry. So the two parts of the question: yes, activity was occurring within the store, and we can't talk about any sort of ongoing investigations or anything like that. We'll just submit on that. At this time, there are no charges against anybody associated with or that owns the convenience store.
Any other questions?
Well, I mean, kind of going off of that, I hear what you're saying, but maybe the mayor can comment. I mean, they obviously knew that this activity was going on. Can you speak to the importance of holding these owners accountable that are serving as a hub for violence?
I think, Alexa, again, we won't get into details, but I think that we have to understand the complexity of what you're talking about here. When there's instances where we know that owners have been complicit, then those folks will be held accountable. But we also have to understand sometimes that these folks that own these businesses, they're also victims in the work. And we won't talk about the specifics of this one, but we balance that out with each and every individual case. It's something that I ask the commissioner almost weekly when an incident of violence happens at a place, and say like, well, how has that district commander been communicating or working with that particular business owner? Have we asked them to do things and they haven't done it? You know, that's why you see us sometimes padlocking places, because we know folks they're not being helpful and good stewards to the community.
The guns, the 18 guns, any connected to other crimes in the city, and if so?
So with all firearms seized in every investigation, obviously analyzed for many different things, to include NIBID and IBIS leads for connectivity. At this time, we can't discuss any connectivity to crime throughout the city with the IBIS leads.
All right. Well, hey, thanks, everybody.